Hello, welcome to Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of R2D2, the show of bourbon again, the show of mezcal again, and today's guest is Hank Cathey, to some a curmudgeon, to some an intellectual, to some an outspoken son of a bitch, but to me, Hank is an amazingly interesting guy who loves bourbon, loves whiskey in general, and loves mezcal. I consider him somebody that's taught me a lot. I always look up to him when I have my bourbon questions that need answering. And Hank's pure love, outside of the industry, mind you, his pure love of spirits in general has got him a great gig with Whistle Pig here in Austin. So let's all sit back with a nice glass of bourbon and listen to this great chat with Hank Cathey.
Capital of the state, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh. How is Raleigh growing up?
You know, Raleigh is a city I know very little about. It's not the part of the state I grew up in.
Yeah.
And I visited it
so you
only
moved
like
pretty
once
quick
or twice.
Then, after you were born. Where'd you move after that?
I believe Gastonia, and then I grew up in Kings Mountain, North Carolina.
That's where you remember.
That's right.
Is that high school days?
Well, yeah, from the time I was 4 or 5 until
you graduated?
Till the end of high school. Yeah.
What's it like socially going to high school there? It's a big mixed bag.
It was not great.
No,
it was not great.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, high school is not great for a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the thing. I'm not saying it was unusually not great for me, but it was not great. Small town.
Small town.
My mom says about me that I was born with the bit in my mouth. That she always knew I was going to move somewhere.
Like you just had the
I just had to go.
setter
I had the
attitude.
wanderlust.
The wanderlust.
And so, that town always seemed so small
Stifling?
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like? What kind of guy were you? An academic, erudite type? Were you a music guy? Drama?
I was in the band, and that was
symphony or jazz band.
We only had one band.
Oh, okay.
We had during football season we had marching band.
Right.
But that was just still the whole band.
Okay.
But I was fortunate in that the band program where I went to school in this little town just happened to have a really great band program. We always won top honors in competitions. Yeah.
Oh, great.
And so that's really what. So most of the time was spent learning symphonic transcriptions of these big pieces.
Right.
You know.
Right. What did you play?
I played saxophone.
Which one? I'm an alto. Are you a?
I played all of them.
Did you? What's your favorite? Barry gets you the
Barry
most women,
was a lot
I
of
think.
fun.
Yeah.
The baritone was a lot of fun, and there was only one baritone.
Oh, okay.
So that's part of it too. Like the altos.
There's always altos, right?
Yeah, there are plenty of altos, but then you've got only a couple tenors and then one baritone.
Hardly any sopranos, right?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't even met a soprano saxophonist.
In a band like that, I think.
Yeah, but it's good to form. I mean, we share that. I mean, like I said, I played alto and then played some guitar and jazz band stuff, but it's a great way to build a social circle.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was my favorite part of going to school.
Was it an aspiration once you get out of high school to keep pursuing music at all?
I think there were times where that crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But not in a big way. I did go audition for the Navy.
No shit.
I did not do well. It really taught me just how
was that humbling
specific my training had been.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you consider going into the Navy?
That would have been. Yeah.
What,
the band has a pretty good life.
I bet. Right. They just kind of travel and play, don't they?
Yeah. You know, they wear civvies and they dress up for
the games
performances.
And stuff, right?
Yeah. But No, they've got a pretty good life, but they were such serious players.
Really?
Yeah,
like the creme de la creme.
Yeah, just
Whiplash
fantastic.
crowd. I don't know if you saw Whiplash.
I didn't.
Dude, you
no.
gotta see it, especially if you're in a saxophonist.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. So does that mean, so you get out, and you said it's Kings Mountain? Is that what it's called? Yeah, Kings Mountain High School. You are still playing saxophone. You're at least humoring the idea of going into the Navy to play a cush gig for some, right?
Although I think once that went away, once I went and auditioned and it didn't go, I don't think I thought about it much more after that.
Did you keep playing or no?
No.
No, you stopped. Did you do any other kinds of music? Did you ever write or?
Not until probably 10 or 15 years ago, I taught myself how to play some guitar.
Oh, cool.
Just some chords.
And frame this for me a little bit. So I forgot to ask you.
Yeah.
You're talking high school. I think you're just a little bit older than me. You're talking early 90s, mid 90s?
When I graduated in 88.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally different scene, man.
Yeah.
Totally different. Did you have the dreams of doing the whole college thing? And
oh, yeah. I went to college. And,
where'd you go?
I went to a small Lutheran school called Lenore-Rhine College. Now it's Lenore-Rhine University.
Is that also in North Carolina?
It is.
Yeah.
In Hickory, North Carolina.
Hickory.
I
Sounds
moved
like
from
a real
town
rustic.
of 5,000 to a town of 50,000.
How was that transition?
You know, it still wasn't enough, but it was.
But because you're
better.
an exception, right?
Yeah.
You're always seeing past. You're thinking wider, global, all these things. Was that also kind of a stifling thing, or opened your mind enough?
Oh no, it was. There were some great things about it. I met some really fantastic people, but it had a really strong.
Well, it's a Lutheran, right?
Lutheran, but Lutheran. I was raised in a really fundamentalist church, so Lutheran was pretty mild.
Was it which church? Not Lutheran church.
Not
Baptist or
not Lutheran? No, a little more fundamentalist even than the Baptists.
Really?
They call themselves, so they're called the Wesleyans.
Okay.
And you might think, oh yeah, I've heard of Wesleyan, like Wesleyan College. Not that Wesleyan.
Not that one.
No. My mom, so I had heard that the Wesleyans were connected to the Methodists.
Okay.
And my mom told me when I was a kid, oh yeah, and they split off because of slavery.
Okay.
Because so which side? Which side was which?
I'd like to know who I'm supporting here.
And she said, "Oh well, of course the Wesleyans were against slavery,
sure,
of course."
Sure.
But then I learned that Methodists were renowned for their abolitionist efforts.
Oh no!
To the point that Methodists were often run out of southern states
because
and towns.
they wanted abolition. Slavery.
So of course
you have to be
now
opposing.
I realize,
oh my gosh!
That's the kind of church I grew up
Did you think
in.
your mom knew?
No, I don't think she knew.
She wanted to believe that it was the best side.
And didn't know. And,
yeah.
How could?
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, of course she was on she and her family and all the...
You're doing things for the right reason, so you think.
So you think.
What does that look like? Is that a Wednesday night, a Sunday church?
Normal
stuff?
Yeah, Sunday school.
Yeah.
The thing in the... Sort of the big thing where the preacher gets up there and talks to everyone. And then Wednesday night prayer.
How did that... I know for me, I had a distinctly uncomfortable feeling when I would sit in those sermons. And I think it was... Geez, I can't remember the denomination now, but this was somewhere in the Midwest. And I was like, I'm not that old. I'm like 8 or 9. I still think, like, this doesn't work for me now. I don't get this. Like, how did you feel when you were there?
I was neck deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of doing it, seeing how it was.
Oh, no, it was... I was looking for something to believe. It's this thing of like looking for something bigger.
Sure.
Again, and it was the closest thing. Like, this was the closest thing. Books, music, and church.
Yeah.
And plus
church is worldly.
Well, and it speaks to it. The idea is that there's something greater than you are, both the fellowship and the God.
Absolutely.
Element. No, and plus I was. Like a lot of kids, I was an emotional kid, big emotions, trying to figure out how to use them or whatever.
Right.
And this kind of crazy church really offered a place for that kind of big emotion.
A good outlet for it.
I don't know if it was good, but
it was an outlet.
An outlet, yes.
Did you, I think that music, and I always go back to music in these interviews, but was that something that was also a pretty big outlet for you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything that you think was really influential at that time you're like, oh man, I hear this, or it was just music in general.
It was just doing it.
Yeah,
it was just as a way to spend time. There was hardly anything better.
It is a great release, isn't it? So when you end back up, so you're in college. What major were you at the Lutheran college?
I ended up with an English degree.
Yeah? Because you liked composition or you liked the construction?
Originally, I did it because I took an English class and I realized, so this thing that I do where I read books and I think about them, that's like a whole major.
Oh, shit.
I don't even have to, I have a skill.
Yeah.
I have a skill set that totally fits with some major that I've never thought about.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't think of English class in high school the way English
it kind of
was
is
at
as
college.
as a major.
And so at first it was just that of like, well, these are the classes where I'm doing well and where I'm doing stuff that, like, I'll read more books. Sure. That sounds great.
Talking about worldly, right?
Yeah. And then I did, like, getting into poetry and just discovering literary theory and all of that. Very exciting.
Do you enjoy reading more or writing more?
At this point, I probably write more, but it's strictly functional.
It's not like
it's
emails a Judy Blume
and
blog, is it?
No, no, it's emails. It's copy for events.
Do you still take that opportunity to make it right and to be detailed? Because a lot of people don't.
I do have
but
a very
I have a feeling,
particular sense of how it should be.
Yeah.
In most cases,
you prose. So here's an interesting thing. A lot of people in college, I loved reading at the time anyway, and I've always loved writing. And I was in community college in Houston, and I took a class, women lit. And this is not like Wellesley. I'm not at a female college, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Houston, it's a metropolitan place. And I was the only guy in the class.
Okay.
And it was about 20 women and myself. I had to read everything twice.
Yeah.
Because you better believe that they would call me each time.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what do you think about their eyes are watching God or whatever?
Yeah,
it was like, yeah. So
Zora Houston?
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But like the Bean Tree, all the Bronte stuff.
Right.
I had to know what is the one? The Jane Eyre, like go backward and forward, like the fundamental script of like modern kind of feminine literature in a sense, But do you have any of those moments in college where you're like, man, maybe I'm in the wrong time? Because that happened to me a lot, where I was like, this other time might have been pretty interesting too.
I've rarely had that feeling with regard to culture at large.
Yeah.
But by and large, I'm glad to be further in the future,
here and now.
Yeah. Like I want to. If anything, I would like to have been born later.
Sure. Wait, like not now, like millennial
get born now.
Oh,
because I want to see more of how the narrative of the world comes out.
Yeah,
right?
that's good. That's good.
But the only time I do indulge in that is when I think about time travel to go back to certain periods of time for the music.
For music, what's the one?
Oh man, I would go back and hang out in Harlem in the 50s.
Oh man,
just.
We're talking all the greats then, right? Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, and stuff?
All that transition from big band to bop, and really like starting I'd probably spend a couple decades there.
Hanging out with Benny Goodman,
45 to 65.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, where it got indie,
a lot of changes
in a
happened.
sense. Yeah. That's a brilliant. What would you be drinking then?
Boy, what would I be drinking?
That's the thought. Well, you'd be smoking something, right?
Those are, those would have been some good times for whiskey.
Yeah, old Fitzgerald down around.
Yeah. If I'm going back knowing what I know now, I would probably drink all the Stitzel-Weller I could find.
Absolutely.
Right?
I see those bottles around sometimes too. Gray Market.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you're almost transported just by looking at it.
Have you? Well, you've got some of that Pappy down there. Stuff. You've got some Stitzel tucked away.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
special
different time. It really is. But it's funny because that particular era, you talk about Harlem when it's kind of transitioning from. Actually, to be fully honest, I don't know. I know about that era, how it transitioned to a cultural epicenter in that area. But what was it before that? Was it just kind of a place and ill-formed culture?
I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't either. I just know now it's changed to a point where it's deformed. it's not really what it was.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. So you go and you finish the 4-year plan here at the Lutheran College, and you
I finished the 4-year plan in 6 years.
Was it the matter of wavering? Did you party too much? Did you find the love of your life?
I did waver at one point. I went and talked to my parents about feeling like I should not take another semester.
Yeah.
And they convinced me that I absolutely should, that my life would be filled with regret if I took a break from college. And so I went and I failed out. Failed out hard.
Really?
And then, took a semester off, sold some cars.
Yeah.
Decided college didn't seem so bad.
And you
got my
back?
mind right, went back.
So what was going on when you failed out? I mean, that's how I've been very close personally.
Yeah.
Not feeling it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I first got to college, I got there with a lot of excitement about the academic element.
Yeah.
Then I had discovered more social elements.
Right.
And
the butterfly
it's just a lot
emerging,
going on.
Right?
It's just there's a lot going on then.
Uh-huh.
And I just felt like I needed,
some time.
just 5-6 months to sort of reset, make a little money,
Yeah, and go back, and
go back.
Clear your head, right?
Oh, no, I absolutely, I wanted to take a break and work.
Yeah.
And
you said you worked at a used car dealership?
I sure did.
How is that? That in the 80s, that was the worst guy you could be.
Oh, it was horrible. It was while I was working at this small Chevrolet dealership in Kings Mountain, North Carolina, the first Gulf War broke out.
Oh, shit.
So nobody wanted this teal Firebird,
right?
With the V8 in it. No one wanted that at all.
God, so you're in the wrong place at the wrong, or the right? No, the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Was that another indicator you needed to hop back into school?
When I sort of saw what my options were, I needed more options.
Gotcha.
I needed to get back to it. Plus, I just missed. It was an easier life. College is easy life
comparatively. Sure is. Yeah, we're always, it always seems difficult. Oh, we got to study all the time. We got to go to class on time, or maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
But nothing is more difficult than being responsible for every single thing you do.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get the sense that you can get away with a lot of shit in college.
Oh yeah.
A whole lot, right? You can show up late. You can be drunk if you wanted.
Yeah.
So when did you? So you finished college. 6-year plan, like myself, we share the 6-year plan. Mm-hmm. You graduate with a degree in English. You're still in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. At what point is this insatiable need to get the fuck out of North Carolina affect you and you get out of there?
So I graduated May 5th, and I arrived in Austin June 5th.
Oh, so was the 30-day trek the amazing trek, or did you?
No, got a bus, and it took 24 hours, I think. 36, I don't know. Maybe, maybe a day and a half, 2 days.
So what year was this in Austin?
I arrived in 94.
Oh, wow. So it was a totally different time then.
Yeah.
At that point, Austin didn't have the momentum that it does now in terms of being a great place to get a job and lots of good economy and stuff. So what was it then that really drove you to come into Austin?
I had a friend with a couch who said I could sleep on it until I got a job.
That's great. That's not a bad reason at all.
I had never visited Austin. I just knew I wanted to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd heard enough about Austin.
Enough to, as a barrier in entry, I won't die probably. Yeah. So let me go.
And I had visited Albuquerque some years before and
you
really loved it.
Albuquerque, yeah.
And I thought, it'll be, people just don't have a sense of how big the Southwest is.
And how different it is.
Yeah. So I just thought, I'd love to Albuquerque. Why not?
Yeah, there's deserts here, right?
Yeah, very different.
Totally different.
But fell in love very quickly. Moved to Seattle for a couple of years after being here for 4 years, and then got back as quick as I could.
So you're here. What were you doing when you got into town? Were you teaching? Were you studying, reading?
Temporary jobs.
Job to job.
Data entry.
Oh, dude.
The only marketable skill I had was that I could type.
94, right? So it was archaic then.
Oh yeah.
God, I remember. I did the data input.
No,
for
it's
Snapple.
green screens, and 10 keys.
Yes,
right. There's no.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's so terrible. And man, that was a different time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what brought you up to Seattle? Were you just kind of done at doing the data entry stuff?
So while I was in North Carolina, speaking of the early days of the internet, I ran up on a group of people who were scattered at other colleges, who were experimenting with different ways of thought and perhaps how they could be affected by psychotropic substances.
Oh, so you started Facebook.
Yeah, I started Facebook. And so, these people, we had lots of conversations online. We would plan these
BBSs
get-togethers
and or IRC,
IRC,
yeah, I remember
and just email.
Cool.
Yeah, IRC was
that's the big one.
It was huge.
It was MIRC for me. It was the same thing, though, I think.
But yeah, this was pre-Mosaic.
Oh,
like my account was on a Vax machine that I could see through the window in the other room. This was 92.
So you helped found the internet,
That's
basically.
right. Yeah. Me and Al Gore, arm in arm.
So you go. This is an amazing reason to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But you said I am aligned with some of these people over psychotropic drugs.
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
And also like other things are like that was, that was ostensibly the thing, but in the end, it ended up being as much about books and music and how to live your life.
Yeah,
and, a lot of talk about this idea of meta programming was actually the idea.
Can you explain that to me?
So the idea of the computer programming itself.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Something that Timothy Leary talks about, something that you start getting with
so
Robert Ann Wilson.
Is it fair to say that the psychotropic drugs of which you took were not of the ground, and they were perhaps constructed with L, S, and D?
There were a variety of numbers and letters, some of which came from the ground, some of which started in the ground and got changed somewhere along the way. Yeah.
For a lot of people, that is a defining moment, a point of clarity for them.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any of those kinds of moments where it's like you saw something in yourself?
Oh yeah. No, I feel like it was I was just having this conversation the other day. Like it's been decades since I've dabbled in that stuff, but I still feel like, not that I didn't make some mistakes along the way and just do some crazy partying.
Sure.
But also I did have some moments of clarity that have persisted and helped me see some things about myself that are still at the heart of my personal, private self-improvement projects.
That's incredible.
Like sort of how to live happy.
Yeah.
The basics.
That's great.
So
that's kind of Seattle. It's about meeting these people, talking about life, learning about life.
So there were more of those folks living in Seattle.
I see.
But I also had two buddies from college who were living there. Mm-hmm. I went and visited once. Thought it was great.
Yeah.
Then I, moved there and realized that I need sunshine to be happy.
Well, there's something to that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, the sun is the source of life.
This
is a very reasonable response.
This is not a metaphor. It is literally the source of life. Yeah.
And I know some happy people in Seattle, but there's a fundamental grumpiness that goes down there.
It has to be, right?
It's just hard for me to. I don't know. I don't want to generalize too much.
No, I totally understand what you're saying.
I know some people up there who are doing a lot of really interesting things, who are living great lives.
Yeah, but in a sense, like you go up there knowing very well that it's going to aid your artistic lifestyle. Ooh. It is. I thought when I was a kid, I heard Nevermind, got into sound, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I got to go where they are because I want to be in the rain and wear a hoodie every day. That's all I want to do. And I'm a teenager. I don't know any better.
Well, you would have gotten the opportunity.
Exactly.
Lots.
Sure. It's enabling. It's an enabling environment for quote unquote creativity, or at least what we sense in ourselves as artistic nature.
Yeah. There's certainly there's a romantic view of the artistic of struggle creating.
Right.
Creating.
Yeah. Oh,
and not that it doesn't happen. But
it's not the
there's
same.
also that thing of like, people hearing that Charlie Parker was addicted to heroin and taking up heroin.
Right.
Because they thought it was going to turn them into amazing.
Right. And
change their playing or whatever. And
well, I heard
just doesn't work that way. Yeah.
No. It's actually that the creativity or the creative core is what exists first. And the heroin is what fosters it and or coddles it into darkness.
Maybe. I'd say
not to be.
I'd say we're probably looking at correlation, not causation.
Yes, sir.
It's just something that happens to people in that territory,
absolutely.
Right?
Well, you gravitate towards that.
Yeah, I think so.
You absolutely do.
Can be.
Socially, you do. Creatively, you do. Romantically, you do. But nonetheless, like it was too damn shady and rainy.
Oh man.
And probably self-deprecating. So you headed back to Austin.
Yeah, I came back. And Austin. while I was in Austin, I had started working with a theater company here and been doing a lot of writing and,
Oh,
and
wow.
a lot of work. And they were starting up another show that I really wanted to be a part of.
As a writer.
Well, no, as a performer.
Oh, no
in
kidding.
that one. Although there was some. This group did a lot of group writing, but I think this was right around one particular writer sort of started taking the lead more, and so I think there were maybe some early stages,
Right.
where people were involved in throwing out ideas, but there came a point where
Was there a particular
where, like,
genre
the lead
to
writer
this,
just took
to
it.
this stuff, or just general nonfiction or fiction?
Well, there's a yeah, I don't
Not really like a common thread through it.
not necessarily.
Just creativity.
Yeah,
You wanted to
very,
be around
very,
that again.
very preoccupied with dream logic, abstraction,
Sure.
And in particular, the sort of surrealism that you find in dreams.
Interesting.
Like that kind of
Like there's the
imagery.
movie, was it Spellbound, the Hitchcock movie, where that Salvador Dali dream scene?
right.
Yeah, which is one of the only times that you really see what you dream as
Yeah,
manifested physically. Not to get mad or whatever. But so you're making that transition from writer to actor then.
yeah. Well, and I had done perform. This,
Was
some
it a
little
minor
theater company where it's just like
Yeah.
everybody's doing everything too.
Sure. But I mean,
oh yeah, we've got an open part. Who wants it?
Yeah. But
Hey,
you
I'll
have
take
such
that
a
one.
yeah. I can't imagine that you didn't have such a commanding personality then too. I mean, did you grow into that? Were you always kind of that guy that people could rally around because he's very, very confident, has articulate things?
I don't
to
think
say?
as an actor it was like that for me.
No.
It was a really hard, and I always, one of the things I enjoyed about this group was that I had some really strong mentors in that area. So it wasn't a leadership thing for me.
It was
at
actually
all.
the opposite.
It was, yeah, absolutely.
To learn.
Yeah, feeling of being trained,
Interesting.
not just working on this thing, this particular project, but stuff that would go on.
Right.
and
Did you ever have
persist.
any formal training or anything, or just something you found?
No, but I was. I mean, these folks came from very formal
Yeah.
theater backgrounds, and
So you just
I
took
feel like
it
I
all
got
in.
some stuff, but
Yeah.
there are only a couple. I mean, this only lasted, I don't know, 3-4 years.
Yeah. Did it kind of? It's an amazing journey. Like if I was a betting man, I couldn't actually project where Hank would end up or where Hank would start. So, what was the moment that you stepped away from the stage?
I up until then I had the temp jobs and really trying not to work much.
Yeah.
I don't think I broke $12,000 a year.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
For years, when I was
Yeah.
up in Seattle, I had a real job, but then I came back and got right back into.
Yeah.
I'm basically working half time.
Gotcha.
6 months.
What was it so that you could have the mental freedom to just explore and be?
I mean,
Are you just are you a fuck the man kind of guy?
I can't attribute a lot of decision to it.
Yeah. Just existing. Just
It
being,
was
right?
just I didn't want to work too much.
I see.
I wanted time off, and
Yeah.
I was keeping at that point in my life, I was keeping myself very busy. Otherwise,
Yeah.
But I got a job with ThinkWell, and
When was
it
this?
started
Late 90s or?
no, this was when I came back from Seattle in 2000.
Oh, okay.
And I think I probably started working with them 2003.
Oh, wow. So you've been there quite a while.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
And just started doing work with them that really scratched a lot of my creative itches. Mm-hmm. Plus, I was doing it full time.
Yeah.
I liked the job. I
you
didn't want to lose it. It
Did
was
you like
where
the
I
money?
spent my time. Yeah, I mean, it
that
wasn't
never
like I made a
motivated
lot
you?
of money,
Yeah.
but I made more than
More than
$12,000 a year.
$12,000, yeah. For sure.
So there was
It's a little bit of different
feeling
quality of
comfort.
life.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I stopped having to worry about whether or not I was going to pay my meager rent,
Right,
or
right.
things like that. No, and that was nothing to be sneezed at.
No, I mean, it
felt
probably was
important.
double that, I would imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, so after a while, it started being too much other stuff. I just wanted to do this one thing.
Gotcha. Did you, so it makes me wonder this whole time, or did you have a particular interest in, let's say, food? Or alcohol in general, spirits, beer, all that?
So, I was really fortunate to grow up. My great-grandmother was alive until I was 14. And so she had come up in a time where she cooked 3 times a day, for a house full of people. That's what you do,
yeah.
Yeah. She was that person in that family.
Wow.
And cooked some kind of bread at every meal, biscuits or cornbread or very Southern.
Right.
So I just grew up around, I don't think I had green beans from a actual metal can until I went to college.
Oh man, that's so the opposite than everybody. You grew up on real food.
And I didn't realize, but I was also coming up during the rise of industrial food.
Right.
I craved Happy Meals and
for sure.
Pizza Hut pan pizza. Oh,
box mac and cheese?
Oh man, I couldn't get enough.
That's so good, right?
Loved that stuff.
Yeah.
But so I just did not understand how good I had it. Became a vegetarian in college, spent 10 years as a vegetarian.
Really? Was that because the food sucked or because you had an ethical opposition to the way animals were treated?
Yeah, it was an ethical thing and really more of at some point it became clear to me that really the only vote I had was my dollars.
Yeah. Oh, good
and
point. Sure.
not that other vote doesn't do something, but not as much as how I spend my money and I just learned some stuff about meat production that
it's not attractive.
Yeah, gave up chicken first.
I still don't eat chicken, man. I love chickens. I think they're great.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But then 10 years later,
right? Yeah.
10 years later, I went and visited Italy.
Oh, wow.
And saw
the other side.
So I'd been paying very much attention to my diet, but in this different way, right? Being vegetarian, being particular, being like making sure that whatever that hidden ingredient on the package wasn't meat. So super, super attentive in this one way.
Okay.
Went to Italy, saw how food production went there, which was
totally different.
Super, super local.
Yeah.
This was 2000. The slow food movement was really taking on.
Yeah.
Taking off in Italy. I had never heard of it except there. And we went to some places and I was just blown away by the simplicity. I had a dish that was what do you call it? The porcini.
The
porcini mushroom.
Porcini mushrooms, yeah.
I had ordered the porcini salad.
Okay.
And when it came, it was a porcini sliced with a drizzle of olive oil and some salt.
Oh, really simple.
Just stacked on it.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed. I thought, that's not really a salad.
Oh, I see.
But then I ate it and it was revelatory.
Yeah.
No, this is a perfect piece of food. All it needs is a little olive oil and a little salt.
Right.
And, the tomatoes were fantastic. The melons were fantastic. You ate meat in small amounts alongside all these all this fresh produce.
Handmade.
All these amazing handmade starches. The pastas, things like that. And it just really changed. I spent 2 weeks there and really had some amazing meals.
Yeah.
So much simpler than the kind of food I'd been making for myself at
bet.
home. And once again, I'm still at the heart of industrial food at that point. We're still not
those
really.
Those veggie burgers have more ingredients than a hamburger does.
And I was eating a lot of
Me too.
stuff.
At that point, same thing, man. And until you kind of see, this is an interesting thing in that simplicity really is best. It's not that meat is bad.
Right.
It's that we've made it bad by overcomplicating it and catering to people because they want more, right?
Right.
So you go, and I can't imagine a nice, curated meat there, like prosciutto de Parma, whatever, right? But it's made with care, and it's made the same way it's always been made, which means that they respect the land and they respect the animal.
And you don't sit down and eat half a pound of it at once.
Right. There's no triple cheeseburger. It's just all you need is a slice. This stuff is so rich, and all those cheeses, and that's the thing.
When you take your time too, it's also this long. You don't feel this thing of just needing to cram something dense and caloric in, so you can keep going.
Yeah,
it's slower.
Which is weird because the food, in a sense, no, not in a sense, it is absolutely intentional that the food we eat that is readily available in box and frozen, it is constructed with chug, 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 stuff down your mouth. In mind. That's how it's made. And in a sense, it's like
Yep.
the whole culture: be more productive, do more things, eat more food.
Yep.
So, where would you come back with then from Italy? This new look this new perspective that you can eat the right things the right way. It doesn't have to be bound to vegetarianism.
And that's for me. And some people do. And I have a very good friend who's a vegan who, his strong feeling is if an animal can suffer, he doesn't want it to suffer.
I see.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for me, the food chain element didn't bother you. Well, and even that makes it, gives away my argument. I'm not trying to dismiss this like other people aren't caring about the food chain.
Yeah.
but it never bothered me that animals were dying.
Right.
It was more about how they were dying.
Gotcha.
To me, wild caught animals were sort of always on the menu.
Always.
I never had them. I never had the opportunity. But they were ethically, those were fine.
Yeah,
for me.
all things in common, they're up for grabs, almost literally, right? The bear's just grabbing the salmon out of the water, and I think that's the level playing field. Yeah, that's how I feel about using guns and hunting.
Gotcha.
If you're going to use a spear or a crossbow, all right, maybe I have less of an opposition to it because you have to get off your ass. You can't just sit there drinking beer for 6 hours. You have to go and run and do something about it. And that's something. There's some element to that. Some.
No, there's something I admire to that.
Yeah.
But also, I don't mind people using guns for hunting either.
Yeah. It's a total tangent.
To me, it's a matter of trophy hunting versus harvesting.
Right. Okay.
If this is meat that's going in your freezer that you guys are going to eat. Awesome.
Makes sense. Yes.
Awesome.
No, that's a great point.
However you harvest it,
Yeah.
and truthfully, like I don't want to romanticize that doing things the hard way makes it better.
Which is not always the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, if you can do that with a crossbow, I think that's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. And I do think you've sort of maintained some, I don't know how to express this higher level, but you're doing
you got some skills.
You're doing it real right, dude. Real right.
Yeah.
Gun. Also, maybe you just don't have time. And you just need to take a couple deer
it's a good
during
point,
season
Hank,
and,
No, I think it's the wastefulness that bothers me. People
I don't like
I can't, to see these always white rich people putting their boot over the neck of a rhino. It's like, dude, you put you two in a room, one of you is not going to survive. We know exactly who it's going to be, and you're not doing it for any reason except to feel better about yourself. And the whole other conversation, but that's bullshit. I'm sorry, that's just offensive to me.
Yeah, I'm not really into. Trophy hunting doesn't. I don't share whatever that visceral thing is.
Right.
I don't.
I mean,
get it.
most dangerous game. Like if you're hunting another human, another dentist, as it were. Fuck yeah, I would repost it all day. Like, well, Fred is a bit slow climbing the tree, so I snagged his ass. That's fine with me. But so anyway, we digress. But you came back with a better sense that it's more about process.
Yep. And when I became a vegetarian, there was no ethically produced meat available in stores. I was living in Seattle when I came back, and then I moved to Austin shortly thereafter, and there were options. Now, I am not saying, I'll tell you, so this makes it all sound like I came back with some higher consciousness, and I did come back with a somewhat higher consciousness.
Right.
But also, I came back with the absolute visceral knowledge that I wanted to eat more meat. That meat was delicious to me.
Yeah.
So
if I remember anything,
innocence.
it's like
I'm talking about this like it's all like, I thought each step through, and I've lived. No.
You had a guttural feeling.
Yeah, I had a thing that had to. I could not believe that I had my last prosciutto and melon.
Oh man,
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah,
I couldn't live that way.
Salami, sopressata. I mean, any of it, dude.
So part of it was just connecting to a food tradition.
Yeah.
And feeling like, like however they do it, that's the right way. Like I don't want to.
Well, they know better than we do.
There's right? Just aesthetically, I get the ethics of veganism. The aesthetics of veganism, are a little trickier for me.
Sure.
Just because I love. I don't know. I love this idea of Sunday dinner, and the great thing is there are these poor people, povera cucina traditions that are vegan or whatever, and that's great, like Indian food.
Sure, wonderful. I mean, it's intensely flavorful.
Intensely flavorful, you know, things like that. But by and large, when you start getting into these regional cuisines, there's some, the meat is held in esteem. It's precious. It's, you know,
it's exalted.
It's at least a flavoring, right? There's always going to be
right.
this little scrap here, this little scrap there. Although there are going to be dishes that are specifically not that way.
But lard is an amazing ingredient.
It certainly does a good job with a pie crust.
Or tortillas.
I can't deny it. Yes. No, I'm a fan. I like that lard.
But yeah, so it's
but so really it was just
thing.
this strong aesthetic feeling of like really being intrigued by
food in
regional
general, right?
food and wanting to sort of learn some more about that. And in particular, Northern Italian food really
Did
time.
Did that drive you to cook?
Oh yeah, and I'd always been a cook.
Right. Did it drive you to cook
up.
professionally?
Oh, no.
Not really.
No. My only professional cooking gigs were pizza shops, sandwich shops in college.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. No.
Well, so at some point it's got to intersect. I feel like there's a very close coupling and parallel between really wonderful, exquisite food. It's typically regional, frankly. Indian is a great example. You build up the same kind of base notes with your cumin, your coriander, your peppers, in some cases, chilies and stuff, pepper, star anise, all that. But then you add a fat, right? So you had coconut milk, yogurt, lassis, and then you add the protein, which
or
in
ghee
some cases,
or
right? Yeah, exactly. Or you add you got your starch and or protein, which comes via lentils or garbanzo beans or lamb or goat.
I do love a good Rogan Josh.
Right. So it's an interesting thing because that concept is very true to art. It's very true to music. And it's very true to cocktails. It's very similar building a daiquiri, for example, having the components and building up upon them. You know, your base note, your punch, your alcohol. I feel like there's a lot of parallels in that sense. So did you feel like your interest in food inevitably took you into being interested about spirits as well? Or is it just your amazing worldliness?
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. No, I think when cocktails started coming up, I had started getting into bourbon. A girlfriend of mine, you know, because bourbon's everywhere mainly.
Absolutely, you picked
and I'd been getting into craft beer, and a girlfriend of mine was and still is a Maker's Mark, not still my girlfriend, but still is a Maker's Mark drinker.
Yeah,
whiskey drinker, and
were you okay with Maker's Mark?
As an intro, I feel like it was a great introduction. I felt
bourbon, nice and
simple.
Yeah, made the right way for sure.
Yeah. Well, and we're talking 2003. You know, 2004.
Before it was a big deal,
so
too.
This is still like really low production. The idea of luxury bourbons was still not a thing.
Not a thing,
right?
yeah.
Everything was middle shelf.
Sure.
High shelf bourbon was $30.
To go back to that time and snag up all those bottles, I think about
forget it,
that.
man.
Yeah, dude. So much money now, but
but
bourbon is a great intro.
But then I ran into Booker's. Barrel proof. You know, small
60-something%, right?
Oh yeah. Well, its proof is given in a range.
Yeah, I love that.
Because it depends on the batch.
Yeah.
You know, and each batch is labeled, but in terms of the general bottle,
great point. Yeah,
you know, this is
it could
like
be off
from
by 2-5%,
24 to 128, somewhere in there. It just depends on the batch, and so that was fascinating to me. It was affordable. You know, when I thought about Scotch, you know, at that time I'm back to not making much money.
Right.
When I thought about Scotch, it was just really expensive to
totally,
learn about.
Totally expensive.
Whereas bourbon, I could afford. And the same was sort of true of beer. You know, one of the great things about beer is you can have, you know, one of the best beers in the world for $7.
No matter what, same price.
And so, you know, wine and whiskey can't say that at this point.
Not at this point.
Not for
at that
like the
point,
best.
you almost couldn't give it away.
No,
now
that's
you
right.
can't give craft spirits away.
No, that's
a side
right.
Project, right? Side conversation. Anyway, so Maker's is a great introduction. Booker's is the one that really opens up your mind.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like really unabashed barrel proof.
I love
spirit, man. Were you able just to drink it straight up, man?
I think back then I was an ice user, but I don't anymore. I love barrel proof spirits. I think there's there's a way to drink them. You can't drink them the same way you drink other spirits, or they'll just scorch you.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
But I think the way when it's well made, the flavor it packs, the texture it packs, just glorious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think also, and I don't understand why this is true or how this is true. One thing, every once in a while, someone will make the correlation between a spirit burning and it being high proof.
Right.
And yeah, sorta. But I think of it as proof and polish are different.
Sure.
I have had barrel proof spirits. There, I think it was 2010 George T. Stagg.
Great bottle.
Just drank round and rich. I never wanted any ice or water on it.
Yeah, some of them are that good.
But some of them are rough. And I've got a bottle open, I think a 2012 Stag.
Yeah, it's
that
pretty.
I prefer as a Japanese style highball.
Gotcha.
I like it long.
Some of them are really intense.
Because it's rough.
Yeah.
It's hard to sip on.
There are a lot like that. It's funny. I was out the other night for a friend's birthday, and I hadn't had Wild Turkey 101 bourbon in a long time. And I didn't want, because they assumed I was shooting it, so I'd go double, and put rocks in and everything. And so they gave me a little shot glass. I was sipping it.
Yeah.
The finish on that thing is superb.
So is that a new Wild Turkey 101?
It was a brand new bottle, yeah.
Of the bourbon or the rye?
The bourbon.
Interesting.
It is incredible. And honestly, the water to me ruins it.
Well,
it actually changes the flavor to a point where I don't care for it.
I think there are whiskeys like that.
Yeah.
Do you? I saw you had some E.H. Taylor. Do you have their barrel proof?
That's the one I had last night. Actually, great with some water. In this particular case,
I feel like for me,
not good.
Well, it depends on which one.
Yeah.
Right. These are single barrels, I think, or at least small batches.
Right.
When I'm thinking of the 129 proof release,
yes,
you
want that one.
I did not like that one with water.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Crazy, right?
It made it bad.
Sometimes you just have to. That's the thing is people want hard and fast rules. Oh, here's something I'd love.
Well,
to
right.
Yeah, I want to share this with you because I think it's fucking hilarious.
Okay.
I was buying a couple bottles of mezcal, Austin Wine Merchant, right? As you do because it got great selection.
Great
bottle
selection.
sherry as well, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna miss you, Kate. Please don't
is she
leave.
Leaving?
Yeah.
Oh, going on to bigger, better things.
I assume. I don't know.
Let's assume that she is.
I assume that. Right now, I'm more concerned about me. What am I gonna do?
What is
without
how
Kate?
am I gonna survive? Well, I was sitting there and I always like to see what kinds of whiskeys they've got in there.
Sure.
If anything new out. 'Cause it's interesting. I'm the same kind of guy. I love bourbon like you do.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there in front looking at the Scotch section, and one of the sales guys. There was a lady in there, probably mid-30s, short blonde, and she's like, I just won't drink anything under 10 years.
Nice.
And the guy, and beyond me cringing and kind of laughing a little bit, the guy looked at her and he says, "Well, good for you." Not in like good for you, but good for you.
Yeah.
Great salesman, handled it perfectly.
Right.
But that just goes to show you that there are these platitudes with whiskey that people they align themselves to so rigidly that they just won't break it.
Yeah.
Right? Pappy's the best. Oh, really? Well, let me put a blindfold on you and have you tell me which one's the Pappy. Because I have a feeling you're not going to be able to tell. Right?
Yeah.
And a 10-year bourbon or an 8-year, there are some incredible 8-year bourbon.
Yeah.
Like that Wild Turkey 101 bourbon, it tastes incredibly rich and smooth at a higher proof, and I'm sure it's under 8 years.
I'm gonna have to revisit that bottling.
It's really good.
I had some bottles post Campari that I didn't love, but I recently have started drinking their rye, their 101
the
rye.
101 rye. How's
and
that?
I love it. I think now that Rittenhouse has changed distilleries and it's no longer, I think, up to standard. I think this is my new
If you had that
my
Pikesville
go-to
rye,
I haven't had it yet.
Insanely good. 110 proof too. Really rich. All kind of the chocolate and the coffee and all that stuff you like out of the rye, and a little bit of the spice too, but more that Heaven Hill rich chocolatiness than anything else. It's really good.
Because I feel like Pikesville used to come out of Brown Forman as well.
Yeah,
along
I
with
think
Rittenhouse.
this is Heaven Hill from my understanding.
This is
absolutely.
Well,
on
they've
the
always
label.
been owned by Heaven Hill.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure this is actually out. Yeah.
Okay.
But I have to check it out. It's over 6 years old too. It's a little older than
very nice.
than Rit. So
Foolproof, little age.
yeah, dude, it's
Sounds
really
nice.
really good. But so suffice it to say, we have this little banter exchange about bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Why, to me, you be like when I need to understand some things about bourbon, And I feel like I'm ahead of the curve over some guys. I kind of understand things, know who's making
Dude, you
what.
own a distillery.
Well,
you know a thing or two, you know?
Maybe,
Come
but
on.
I'm not making whiskey.
Well, sure.
How dare I make whiskey in Texas? If I can't, no one's going to be able to do it right here. They still haven't done it right. At any rate.
Let's not get into that conversation.
I'm not even getting, it's going to think. Well,
I don't need to develop any hatred.
Why did you become, and of course I am putting you on this pedestal right now, but why did you become the whiskey guy? How did you become the expert? Why do people gravitate towards you for that?
I don't know if I'm... Okay.
You know a thing or two.
I do know
about
a thing or two.
Yeah.
There are some other really... And I will use the word other.
Yes.
I'm not the expert. But I am one of.
Well, let's say top fucking 10.
I think I know. I know some stuff that a lot of folks I know don't know.
Exactly.
But there are people out there who I'll read their work and they know so much about whiskey.
Like Chuck Cattery.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows a lot of things.
But you are the guy. You're my resident expert when I don't know things. I mean, why bourbon? What was it about it that became a topic of particular interest? Not just drinking it, but you know the details.
Well, but also it's it's like reading the cereal box.
Right.
I'm sitting there drinking bourbon. Mm-hmm. Sure, I'll pick up. I've drunk a lot of bourbon.
I do.
That gives me a lot of time to pick up one scrap of information. Each time, and yeah, I'm just curious. I think I have. By the time, and you know this, by the time you are collecting bottles, and I don't mean collecting them speculating. I mean finding special bottles to drink.
Yeah, right.
You start having to navigate a lot of obfuscation, lot of opacity.
Yeah.
That you have to be the person who understands
smoke and mirrors
where this distillate comes from. Yeah. When did it come from here and when did it come from there, and how does this label change correlate, and what's the UPC code?
How do you feel? It's a great point. How do you feel about distilleries? Let's just use Texas as an example. No brands particularly, right?
Yeah.
But Texas as an example. How do you feel about brands saying this is a Texas whiskey, although we both know damn well it's sourced from somebody in Kentucky and it's rebottled with the Texas brand? I mean, how do you feel talking about obfuscation? Mm-hmm. I mean,
well, by and large, I'm a proponent of truth in labeling.
Yeah.
Without speaking specifically to Texas, we live here. We got to be careful.
Right.
I want places to be honest. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything to hide. We know that whiskey gets sourced. We know that beautiful whiskeys get sourced.
Sure. That Michter's 10 year?
Willet doesn't have to hide the fact that they source whiskey because they pick spectacular barrels.
Great barrels, yeah.
Right?
For sure. But
you compare this like to the Templeton thing, right? Where and I use that as an extreme, right?
But it's a case.
Most people don't
study.
go to yeah. And it's one that went very, very public.
And it'll be historically a big moment for whiskey.
Yeah.
But what about so this is all true. All this is true. Like I said, the Michter's 10 year, they won't tell me where it's sourced, even though I asked them directly. No, it's fine. They know they didn't make it. It is a great bottle. That 20 year, same difference, right?
Yep.
I can taste it and kind of speculate. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And Willet picks some great barrels. Smooth Ambler picks some great barrels.
Absolutely.
All that stuff's really, really cool. But I guess more specifically, I'm talking about, so we know there is let's say it's an 80-20 breakdown of people that drink whiskey. There's 20% that really do care about the craft.
Yeah.
They're not going to stand rigidly behind the 10-year age statement.
Sure.
They're going to be okay with drinking some at 4 years, which could still be brilliant.
Right.
All the Four Roses stuff is under
They have a more nuanced sort of appreciation.
They are not, they are open to the art of it. And they're not so just rigid, right? But the rest of the people, and this isn't to separate because we're all consumers, right? All of us are 100% are consumers, but there's an 80-20 breakdown, and 80% of the customers want to just say, oh, it's a Texas, I'll buy it because it's a Texas whiskey. But that's completely disingenuous.
Well, sure. But, also there are people out there buying dog dick vodka and, and you can't...
So you're an easygoing guy.
Well,
I don't believe this actually.
This is of course a topic that I'm very passionate.
I know
that I have lots of passions around.
Right.
But this thing of are there out of that 80% of the people who don't really care?
Right.
Do I really care what they drink? I would like for their money to go to businesses that I like to.
Yeah.
I like it when people are drinking real straight bourbon whiskey,
The honest stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and that they're drinking something that's labeled well and all of that. I don't really care for when they're drinking flavored whiskey products, but also but also it tastes just fine from where I'm sitting.
Right.
I'm not drinking
matter
it.
to
So
you.
yeah, in a way, I hate it, but it will hurt me constantly if I worry
If
about
you let it in. If you
that
let
kind
it
of
in,
stuff.
lose
right.
sleep at night about
like it's
it.
that 20%, and
Yeah.
truthfully, there are enough competition for my world. I don't need
The rest of that.
these other guys like wanting the whiskey I want.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. We want them wanting everything else so we can get those damn bottles.
It's already tough out there.
I think about it differently because I do make a product and we do sell
right.
it and stuff. So
Right.
maybe that's more of I'm being very selfish in the tone of the conversation.
I have the luxury of being able to maintain a strictly observer position.
Yeah.
I don't have
It's true.
a horse in the race.
Right.
You do.
But here's
You
an
care
ethical. I
more.
absolutely
Yeah,
do, and I kind
yeah.
of can care about standards and
Yeah, of
truth and all
course.
this stuff.
Of course.
But maybe that's stupid. Maybe I'm just naive. Maybe that's not how things work.
Oh
And
no,
I'm gonna-
I do think it's worth us pushing. I do believe that in lots of areas,
Right.
people want truth in advertising.
Sure.
Whether we're talking, I'm not personally an anti-GMO person.
Yeah, me
I
either.
feel like I have a somewhat more. It's not one way or the other for
yeah,
me.
right.
But I also understand labeling things accurately.
Yes.
I don't know how that looks, but to me, like, more information isn't going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, no, it never did.
It's
just
so-
either they pay attention or they just
That's right. Or
block
they
out,
ignore it
so.
and it's fine.
Yeah, it's no problem. But here's an ethical question, actually.
Okay.
That I know you have a dog in this race. And this was, I hadn't met you yet, but Michael Sanders said, you should talk to Hank. You guys would get along.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, well, why is that? And I guess maybe because we both raise our voices marginally. I don't exactly know. But he tells me this. He regales me with this tale of you getting upset with somebody. And keep in mind, I'm not siding one way or the other.
I
This is
understand.
just-
Yeah. You're recounting it.
I'm recounting a tale. And a guy ordered a whiskey and Coke with a Pappy 20, I believe. Now, that scenario in which they know what they're buying, they've heard about it, does that make you cringe a little bit?
Yeah. I one night I sat at a bar and I watched
This
a guy.
must be the... Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I know exactly which thing he's talking about. Now, I don't know how he recounts my response to it. My response was
I
not
would love
immediate.
for you to share me.
I'll just tell you what happened.
Yeah.
It's really not a very exciting story, but it did bring up some questions for me. This guy is drinking Pappy 23 and Diet Coke.
In Diet Coke?
And he has
God.
I mean, I see this bartender buddy of mine pour at least 3 of them.
To the same guy.
Same guy, right? And
150 a pour? About?
Well, this was earlier.
Okay.
This was
It's like
probably
100 probably.
3-4 years ago.
Okay.
It was probably a $50.
All right.
$50, $60.
Still a lot.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
lot.
for a Diet Coke drink.
Yeah, dude, come on.
All right, so yeah, I got an opinion. My opinion is, come on, dude.
What'd you say to him?
I said nothing to him.
Okay.
But, I don't. My buddy's working.
Let them be
not,
what they're doing.
Yeah. That's not my
Shtick.
No, I would never jump in on something
Gotcha.
like that. Unless asked. You want to
Yes.
invite me in to the dance, I'll dance.
Yeah.
But no, and I don't even know if I think the guy was behind me, or I just saw him making them.
Right.
And each time he made it, it just broke my heart.
Uh-huh.
And it's not because it's expensive.
No, of course not.
It's because it came from a now closed distillery.
Right.
So to
It's an
me, it was
artifact
this
of a greater
issue.
time.
That's right.
Yeah.
There is this feeling I have that not. Oh, and this is. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah,
like,
please.
not everyone is worthy.
Really? I love it. I mean, that's
I
great.
mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's such. It's at this point, there's so little of it
They're
left.
not revering it at all.
And
Yeah.
if it's something that, to me, I completely understand why a bartender would say nothing about that and serve the person
Right.
their drink.
Right.
No, I get that. But also, I think ethically, there's one way of looking at the ethics where I think that bartender would be completely justified in slipping some Elijah Craig 12 in there instead
They would
of.
know the difference.
That's my guess.
Dude, that's
my
the wonderful.
guess.
This is the wonderful thing. We last year, we had kind of a private whiskey tasting and went through the Buffalo Trace stuff, the Pappy stuff. And it wasn't really to showcase the Pappy stuff, the 12, the 15, 20. I didn't bring my 23 because it's a little bit difficult to get. But it's about realizing that whiskey is a smoke and mirrors game like anything else.
Be.
Now, especially.
Yeah.
And there's...
Although there are some treats.
in
that lineup.
Oh, dude, I'm not
sure.
saying that 12. And I know you love the 107. The 10 year is the one you really liked, right?
That's especially when you can get it for $45.
Yeah,
hard to beat.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great whiskey.
And I think also I got a hold of a Stitzel Weller bottle of that.
Oh wow!
Back in Kentucky, and I didn't realize what I had. And so my view of that whiskey got a little skewed.
Gotcha.
Now it's like, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I would never pay more than
it's expensive,
MSRP
man.
for it.
It's really expensive now.
But that's how I feel about Pappies in general.
Yeah, but that's the thing too, is that there's lots of great stuff. I mean, honestly, that Wild Turkey 101 bourbon, if you even Wild Turkey, if you didn't water it down and neat pour, you can't tell. You can't tell that it's not of the same age or the same quality. And that's the thing with bourbon, man, is that people they get so affixed to their perspective on something.
Yeah.
And it's actually very telling about this is not a larger conversation, but it's very telling and representative of the political climate as well in America. Like, if people believe what they want to believe, and they heard it once, thus it must be true. Pappy's the best. Okay, well, why is it the best?
Well, I think going back to where this conversation started, and people caring, not caring. Why do we care so much? And it touches on this. These are people who are going to buy maybe 4 bottles of whiskey this year.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to buy 1 for sipping, and they're going to buy 3 to 8 for mixing.
Gotcha. Right.
And they just need a go-to that maybe they like with soda, but they'll say they like on the rocks.
Yeah.
They're not like us, where they're going to drink a lot of whiskeys, and they're going to try a lot of these things.
Right.
They're going to get one chance.
Yeah.
And so something like Pappy becomes a sure thing.
Absolutely.
You don't have to take. It's going to.
Right.
It starts getting this cachet that like, oh God, this is going to put me back 300.
Right. But at least
I know it's
good.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at least okay.
And also now you can take part in the conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course. You see lots of people taking pleasure in saying that Pappy isn't as good as people say it is.
Right. The doubters.
It's a pastime now in whiskey circles,
Sure.
and I get it.
Yeah.
But also you got to taste it before you can do that.
That's
before
a
you
great
can play
point.
that game.
Yeah.
Be a part of that conversation.
You can't talk shit until you've been in the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate that we've probably gotten to taste more than we've had to buy.
Yeah,
or finding bars where you can get a pour of it instead of buying a whole bottle.
Right.
We live and we travel to cities where those things are possible.
Yeah.
There are people who live in cities where those things are absolutely
You're totally right.
possible.
And this is a nice perspective
if they're ever
going to
taste it, this is it.
Yeah. It is it's that white whale to a lot of people.
Yeah.
At least a white whale in retail. Jesus.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But there's such other great stuff. I want to mention that the Old Forester birthday bourbon for this year is spectacular.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to try the Four Roses small batch limited edition 2015.
Their stuff is always so good.
It's always really good. The single barrel 2015. Some great stuff coming out. But the
they're
one
not doing single barrels anymore.
They're not doing the 2015? Was 14 the last year? Oh, I'm glad No, that's actually, I've seen the label.
Out?
Yeah, I've seen the label for it.
Okay.
I think this year's
maybe
the last
it's the last one then.
Yeah, I think this is the last one. But
because I think their barrel program is just like their store barrel program, and it's just exploding.
Gotcha, they can't keep up with it.
They gotta make their choices.
It's such a treat and a one-time thing that they're just trying to, I think, give something nice to their really loyal customers. That's what that is, but it's not really cost. Yeah, it's not about the money.
No, that doesn't change their business, right?
Yeah,
their money is that yellow label.
You're totally right. It doesn't change it. It doesn't change it at all. And there's another one coming out. I'm really keeping my eyes out. It should be out here anytime, and I'm trying to get a bottle. But there are these 375s of Stitzel Weller juice.
Right,
the Johnny Fitzgerald
John
20
Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
and I've heard good things about it.
I have too.
Boy, they come dear.
They are $300 retail
for $375,
and resale is about gray market $800 to $1,000. It's insane. Trying to find one for roughly retail. We'll see.
Yeah.
But this should hit next week. Anyway, so that's kind of a brief nerding out about bourbon while you're here, right? But let's take a moment to talk about the bottle that you chose here. And this is an absolutely total contrast. You picked the Araqueño en Barro from Vago. This is the second Vago bottle that we had. The first being the Tempestate Sierra Negra blend, which is one of the finest ever committed. And this Araqueño en Barro, which I had to, for those of you who can't see, I had to switch Hank out to another bottle of Araqueño so he wouldn't drink it all, because this is my single-handedly my favorite bottle of mezcal.
No, I feel honored that you even let me dip into it.
It's my pleasure, man. But this is a Tio Rey construction, right? This is in clay.
Yep.
It was actually aged in clay and distilled in clay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because Barro is...
I think just distilled in clay. He has wooden... Yeah. I did get once, I think it was a Mexicano from him, where they had more mash, more whatever you call the fibers, than they could fit into their wooden ones. And so they did age it, that little piece in clay. So I do have a bottle that's clay.
Alcantara, that's what they call it. Alcantara, right?
Well, I think that's after the fact. I think that's when you let it rest in clay containers.
Distill it in clay, but you're talking about the actual fermentation resting in clay.
Fermented in clay and then distilled in clay.
Interesting.
And it's good. I don't know if it's that different.
I'm not sure if it makes a big difference.
Tio Rey makes good juice.
Yeah, dude, that's all that matters.
It tastes great.
And this is the single-handed best mezcal I've ever tasted from clay.
It is. It is spectacular.
It is. There's nothing better than this.
Yeah,
I'm with you. We're at about half a bottle, and I'm certainly going to start putting a bag on top of it now, so no one can grab it. But
I think it is worth just saying, like, we're looking at completely the opposite of the kind of obfuscation we were talking about before.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
This label says everything about it: how much it was made, how it was made, when it was made, who made it, where it was made, what it's made of.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think that's really amazing about what we're getting out of Mexico, these beautiful mezcalas, is this is a production batch of 300 liters.
Right, it's nothing, man.
So, and this bottle, I think I got mine for $85.
That's about,
right? It's not cheap, but when you think about the other things that are in that price range, you're talking about lots more production.
Absolutely.
It's coming from distillation runs of thousands of liters.
Yeah, you could get a couple bottles.
Yeah.
This you'd be lucky if you even came to your market.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I don't know how hard you had to work, but
I did.
My bottle came. I had to bug somebody.
I heard about that. That's another bottle too that I've got coming that we'll have to share too. The Sierra del Tigre, that Racia, Venenosa. So, but to briefly talk. But so all of this spirits knowledge obviously bubbled up. The affinity towards bourbon, the affinity towards mezcal. It secured you as an expert in this industry, a very outspoken and opinionated guy, but it's always been a source of inspiration for me. It's not. I don't see you as being a dick, right?
Well, thanks.
A lot of people is like, man, fucking Hank's had something to say about everything. No, you've got good things to say. You're a dramatic guy, but not in like in a Seattle emotional way. You emphasize the right point. So how did this opportunity with WhistlePig then come about? Was it
very
knowing
much
that you're that guy?
Yeah. It's I'm good friends with the guys with the Tipsy Texans.
Dave, yeah.
And WhistlePig wanted someone just part-time, around this area, to do some staff trainings, Texas is a big state.
Stimulate.
The guy for Texas is busy.
Right. You could run a company alone, sustain one just from the Texas market.
Yeah. And so he approached Tipsy Texan. They just, they didn't have the bandwidth for it at the time. Sort of in a bigger way, they're doing a piece of it.
Right.
And they said that he should talk to me, and so we all got together, and there it went.
It worked out.
Yeah.
How do you like traveling, talking about booze and learning about booze?
Well, I don't really travel. Like the WhistlePig thing doesn't really.
Because you went to the farm, though, right?
I did get to visit the farm.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
That was awesome. Yeah, that was great.
Well,
but most of my travel is for Thinkwell.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. No, my
but you
WhistlePig
get to go
thing
around Texas, though, right?
Well, it's mainly Austin. Yeah. That's really where we focus.
How does it feel being the guy that people can looked to as being an expert on one of the people at the forefront of whiskey in Texas. And now you're with Whistle Pig, so you have even more validity because you're working with the brand. I mean, how does that feel?
I wonder
being
if
in
that's
that
more
position?
validity or less validity. I
It's
don't
hard
know,
to say,
you know?
man. The purist or not.
But I do think that part of what works for me for that gig is that people do know me as I don't just drink one thing. You know, if I'm drinking it, it's because I've drunk a few things and I like this.
You love it. You love them, all of it, right?
Yeah.
In a sense.
No, I think it's a really amazing project.
You're polyamorous indeed to bourbons.
I'm
Sorry,
not
whiskeys in general.
Yeah, I'm not an ore guy.
Yeah.
You know, to me, like it depends on what night,
Right.
you know, if you're making a drink, not to say I don't have some favorites.
Yeah.
But I have favorites. You know, there's a line above which everything above that line is my favorite.
Are there any bottles you wouldn't share? Or are there any bottles that you wouldn't share with me if I came over?
There are some bottles that are not open. Anything that's open,
you'd share it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
But there is I do have a bottle of 70s Gold Vein Weller Antique.
Oh,
the
my
107.
gosh, really?
That I haven't opened yet, and it's I'm holding on to it. I know that the whiskey is beautiful. I've tasted stuff from that era.
What kind of occasion would call for that, to open that bottle? What do you think might be the best time? Because as Michael Sanders puts it, there could be an earthquake at any time.
Amen. Well, and I had a break-in in my house, and the guy only stole closed bottles. Right?
Yeah.
He took a bottle of 12-year Stitzel-Weller juice just because it was closed. He also took a bottle of Bourbon Court 8-year because it was in a gift box.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. So anyway, point being, if I had opened that bottle and had a sip from it, I would still have it.
Yeah.
As it is, I never tasted it. Jeez. It's the only thing you got. That was my electric toothbrush.
That's all right,
which is
though.
Creepy.
It is kind of.
No, but it's creepy.
Yeah.
Why did he want my electric toothbrush? That makes me think he's a government agent.
Or an ex-girlfriend.
And they're developing clones.
They could, there's lots of other things they could take. Maybe used razors. Although we're talking two people here with beards that maybe not the most use.
Yeah,
Toothbrush
I think
could work, but
I think it was just convenient.
Yeah.
Plus, it vibrates. He probably liked that. It's fun. A little something fun.
Well, it's good. So if there's an open bottle, I'm free to it.
Well, I'm a big fan of this idea. When you're one of the benefits, I hear people talking about, I'm saving this bottle for this occasion. Mm-hmm. That makes sense with perishables like wine or beer.
Yeah.
With whiskey, I would like to promote once again the power of and. Uh-huh. You can open it, drink it, and save it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great point.
You know, like the fact that you poured 2 ounces of it out of the neck actually is going to make it drink better.
Yeah,
when that special occasion comes.
Absolutely.
You're sort of prepping it for that moment.
Yeah. God damn. So you're basically just encouraging every single person, including myself,
to
open those unopened bottles.
Open those bottles.
So your Weller 107 from the 70s is in fact open. You just don't drink it very much? Or
no, it is not open. It is not open.
Well, Hank, come on.
and I do have bottles that are So I just moved and I just packed.
Right.
I own over 500 bottles.
God damn, are you kidding me?
No. So
where do you store
this
them?
is the thing. Like I only have space for so many open bottles.
Or showcase bottles, right?
Or just open.
Yeah.
Just space for bottles that are open.
Gotcha. Okay.
The rest of them end up in case boxes.
Yeah.
You know, tucked away in the back of a closet or something. And then, you know, when there's a little more
right
space, let's go digging through the boxes and see what we want to do. So part of it is just I just can't have everything open at once.
Yeah. They just don't have space.
I just don't have space.
Man, and I thought that I've occupied a lot of space on my shelf up there, but 500 bottles, I can't even.
Lots. And now the 500 bottles is split. You know, I also have a pretty extensive like cocktail setup.
Right,
you know, so
right.
it's not all like really special bottles.
Yeah, you got
a lot
rum
of it's
and
just,
stuff.
Yeah,
all that
exactly.
Stuff.
Yeah, I've got lots of $15 bottles of rum
in
that 500.
It's a very good thing to have. Oh, I can't even imagine the mezcal in there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's no, it's pretty good. That's a lot.
So I think about this last piece, and are we ever going to see you behind the bar regularly?
Well, I don't know. It's not something, you know, I'm not a trained bartender.
Right. But sometimes it doesn't matter though. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I'm saying sometimes it doesn't matter.
You know,
A savant's a savant, Hank.
maybe I don't think I'm a savant though. I don't.
No.
I've had some time. I do these events for Fusebox Festival,
Right.
and that's given me and really like that's been it's that thing that really sort of started changing how people thought of me with regard to expertise and stuff. Because I started asking them to be part of projects. And so just got to know a lot more people and have more conversation.
Yeah, because
that's really more of the way that happened with this community. Sort of my segue in to
when it was roughly that the Fusebox Festival.
6 years ago is when it started.
6 years strong.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, the festival's been going on longer when the series. Yeah.
And I know that at that point too that I would always equate you to a mezcal guy who really understood that stuff. I learned a lot from you about that too. Bourbon as well. I mean, you still remain. You're kind of like my professor, right? And I'll go to you.
I don't know, man.
I know some stuff, but
yeah, you know some stuff.
It's only because I've been encouraged to explore my major in bourbon and mezcal. You know,
I don't know. I think you're an eager student.
Maybe so.
I don't think you've been pushed that hard.
Maybe not.
I think you've been glad. I don't see you cracking the books with a grimace.
No, I like uncovering a lot of shit. As it turns out.
Yeah. But the great thing is studying is drinking. You know.
Yeah. So absolutely.
It's the easiest.
I can't learn more about this mezcal unless I drink it.
No.
Either there's no way. So I hope that you continue to be a really outspoken expert in this field in Austin. Man, the creativity and all of that. I think you embrace a lot of great aspects about the industry, but a lot of great aspects about Austin. But I think the last thing I want to say is that in some sense, I haven't seen you get into a fight, but if you got in more fights, to me, you could be Ernest Hemingway's incarnate. So that's not a bad thing. Just don't go down the other path, going to Key West, shooting yourself a lot.
Yeah, no. I think Papa had it rough. I think I'm looking for an easier life.
It's a semi-charmed life for
it was awesome.
Yeah.
No, Papa lived his life.
Yeah.
I can't, but I don't think that's for me.
Well,
I'm not gonna run with the bulls. Like I might sit down with the bulls and have a drink,
hang out, smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
But not in the bulls.
No,
not interested.
No, it's a lot of running.
Yeah, that's true.
And plus maybe gouging.
There's a lot of gouging.
I'm not into gouging.
Dude, at least a dude dies a year.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
And I am not going to be the fastest dude. I have a feeling. Yeah.
You might be that guy.
Me. Yeah.
Well, Hank, thanks so much for chatting with me, man.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. What'd you guys think? Hank is an amazingly nice guy. I thought we were going to get embroiled in a lot of arguments and perhaps some disagreements, but honestly, he's full of love, he's full of knowledge, and he's full of a lust for life. It was great chatting with him, and I cannot wait to see what he does next with the Whistle Pig bit. I also can't wait to see what I learn next from Hank, because there's always something. The guy's always thinking, and I bet you Hank will keep dancing